This week I wear the same shirt as last week, but I have a new camera, the Nikon Z6 mirrorless. You're on top of that camera for the entire wedding day. And at the end of this video, we actually edit all the images that you're going to see in this video, and you can see all the settings. If you're interested, all of my presets are available to Patreon supporters. The link for that is in the description below. Great. Got bread. Taylor Jackson.
Shooting 67 weddings last year.
Taylor Jackson, welcome.
So Taylor, you are well known in this community. You're an amazing photographer.
Welcome to the first wedding day with the Nikon Z6. Right now I have the adapter going to one of my old 85 lenses. Kind of waiting for the new 85 1.8 to come out for this. I feel like the stabilization built into the body is a huge benefit. The one drawback for wedding shooters is the fact that there is only one card. Also, these cards, so I bought a bunch of them whenever Lexar stopped making cards, and now they're like $1,000 on Amazon right now, which is absolutely insane. So probably get the Sony ones. Don't worry about getting the Lexar cards for $1,000. That is the most ridiculous thing ever. To cut in here for a second, I was talking with my dude at BJ Photo here in Waterloo, and he told me that CF Express cards are kind of due out, and they've been due out for a little while. And once CF Express comes out, all the camera bodies that actually use the XQD cards will be able to update their firmware to use CF Express, which is the exact same form factor. So that is the reason why only Sony right now, to my knowledge, is making XQD cards, and Lexar has just stopped making cards entirely for the consumer market. So that's the story, and Sony has global domination. Back to the video. A few quick things that I did to set this camera up. There are a few less buttons than I'm used to with my Nikon D850. So I have two function buttons down here. One is set to white balance. One is set to the autofocus mode so that the back wheel controls whether it's in AFC or AFS or manual focus. And the other function button does white balance, kind of boring. I've also set this white balance to A2, which means that it's going to be a slightly warmer tone. It's going to kind of white balance with warmer tones rather than cooler tones if you're on just A0. That's something that I didn't actually know on my Nikon D850 and previous Nikon products, but it actually says it in a little pop-up here whenever you change over to A2. Another thing that I did was I changed this AF on button to AF lock. I don't use back button focus. I kind of do the opposite. There's no right or wrong way, really. I just really do everything in reverse of somebody that would be using back button focus. And then the last thing that I did was I set the, when you press in the joystick here, it just resets the focus point to dead center. So if I'm kind of like moving around and moving my focus point around, then I can just easily reset it that way. Another super useful function of pressing that center stick in, I haven't set it up yet. Hopefully I can do it on here, is to do 100% focus check. So if you're in preview mode and you're seeing an image, that you can hit that button and go to immediate 100% wherever the focus point was. That's something I've used in a lot of my cameras in the past. Hopefully I can set this up too. I haven't gotten that far yet. So for right now, let's go photograph a wedding. Here we are, Langdon Hall, taking pictures. That's my intro today. I like this shot. I feel like this is the needed shot, but I always kind of like the off balance through the door shot a lot better. Also, I just want to kind of point out the importance of when you walk into a room, even if the lights aren't in the room that you're shooting into, to turn off all the lights just to kind of make it feel a little bit more together as an image. Here is an example of it with the lights on, a little bit orangey kind of around the edges. And here it is with the lights off. Subtle, but it's an easy thing to do and it makes a better image. At the end of this video, I'm actually going to be editing through everything, so don't worry about seeing what presets I use. I use them all in the video that you're going to see. You can also see exact 100% settings on everything that I edit as well, whereas sometimes this LCD kind of flickers out because of the refresh rate. I really enjoy having good autofocus on my live view window so that I can just touch whatever I want to be in focus. It is really helpful, and coming from a Nikon D850, it really lacks that ability, and I kind of wish that I had it a lot on that camera now. Thought I would take a moment to talk to you guys here on the tennis courts because I'm a business coach, not a tennis coach.
You know how it is. We get it. I'm a business coach. Yeah. Not a tennis coach. No.
This Z6 is really an incredible camera. It has sped up my workflow for details and just getting ready shots substantially already, so I'm excited to see what it does over the rest of the day. So fast, and what you see on the LCD is what the image is, rather than SLR when you're shooting through the viewfinder and you really have no idea what the end product's going to be and you just kind of trust in your meter. Here you're seeing exactly what you're getting. I've also been shooting this on auto white balance for the first time ever, really. I'm always pretty much on shade white balance, and that's just kind of my thing, my look to my photos. But with that little white balance tweak that I told you guys about earlier, number 2, just kind of a little bit warmer, that is enough for me. So auto white balance just in and the variety of situations I've found myself in this morning has been absolutely incredible. I kind of feel like I'm shooting a Leica where all of the auto settings are actually really, really accurate to exactly what I want. When I shot the M10 and when I shot the Q2, that's kind of my takeaway, was that whatever I wanted it to be, I just kind of pointed the camera and it was that. That is this camera in a much lower price point. Back in the room, back turning lights off, walking into the room, turn all the lights off. I do this for all my commercial work. I do this for pretty much everything that I ever find myself in a photojournalistic environment where I don't have complete lighting control like some sort of studio. I usually have them facing the window for this section of the day, but I thought that I would kind of flip it a little bit to make the light a little bit more interesting. I find that photographing from this direction does become a little bit more boring, and also you have to be very aware of your backgrounds. All right, that's all for getting ready. Now we're moving into the ceremony. Because I have a lot of space to move around, I'm actually doing something that I don't usually do, and I kind of am parking myself right behind the officiant so I can get more of a centered shot. I'm just going to kind of experiment with this for a little bit, but I do know that whenever Jasmine starts coming down the aisle that I'm actually going to have to get reaction shots, so I'm going to have to move at that point. Even though I am the only person here, I find more comfort in being on a 70-200. While I love the images from an 85 or a 50, I think just the flexibility of being able to get kind of everywhere at once with a 70-200 without having to run around the ceremony location is a huge benefit to my couples, because I know that all of them are pretty much just after like primarily candid coverage with maybe a 10 or 15 minute posed photo session. So the more images I can get in good light right now, the happier they're going to be with their final image gallery. I think one of the most important things you can do as a photographer during a ceremony is to just be as respectful as possible and to not stand directly in front of the mom as her daughter's coming down the aisle, and to be very aware of that. And while I know that you could probably get an amazing shot shooting at like 16 millimeters laying on the ground while the bride comes down the aisle, I don't think that's something that anyone should ever be doing, because it really does just direct all attention at you, when the ceremony specifically and the rest of the wedding day entirely should be about the couple, and all eyes should be on them rather than you doing weird stuff to try to get photos and be experimental and create work essentially to impress other wedding photographer friends on Instagram, because a lot of my couples, they're a lot happier, and I can see through the download stats that the more experimental I get and the more interesting things that I think I do that make me happy usually result in less downloads, or even no downloads in some cases, in the actual wedding day album. That said, I do think that it's important to also be creating some work for yourself, but don't focus the entire day on just curating Instagram content for yourself. Really put the couple at the #1 spot. They're the ones that have hired you to come and create this work for them. So do the best by them, not the best for you personally. Going into the first kiss, I'm always just kind of like, I lock my focus point and then I just stand there for like a minute and a half. It's something that I haven't really been able to get over, because I do know when it's coming, but I also don't want to just be like putting my camera up quickly to try to capture it. So I just stand here like a little tiny statue and get as much as I possibly can. It's also really challenging to, even if the officiant tells you where they're going to go during the first kiss, you always have to kind of start tight and get a little bit wider as they kind of go to frame. At least in my experience, that's been the best. Also, you probably noticed, but I didn't mention it, I changed back to my Nikon D850 for the ceremony so that I have 2 cards of backup. And now that they're coming back down the aisle, I'm back on the Z6 with a 24mm lens to kind of get everybody and also the architecture and everything into the shot, because I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. You can get like nice and close together. You know what, that looks good. I think that's good.
I'm just wondering, I'm just waiting for you to direct.
No, I think you're good. And then get nice and close in there. And then as long as you're kind of angled in like you are, and perfect. Ideal conditions for family photos today, just overcast, very easy. Just set it to 1 manual exposure and then batch process everything in post so that you don't have to spend too much time doing it. This looks so good. Looks good. And you guys can even take like 1 step this way just so you're not going to be cut off by the tree. All right, looks good. And then same deal, everybody just kind of angle in and get nice and close together. As long as everyone's on 1 single focus plane, I am happy to be shooting at f2.8. If I add a second layer, maybe 4.0 or 5.6, depending on my distance from the groups. And you're going to smile and look towards me. This is the... Amazing. That looks so good. All right. And if you guys want to look at each other for 1 or 2, or... It's good. And you can put both arms around each other, maybe get like nice and close there. That looks really good. And if you guys want to face each other again, just pretend that I'm not obviously creeping right here.
Z6 is working pretty well with the 85, but I want to make the building in the background look a little bit closer. So I'm actually going to go onto my 70-200 and go way in the background so that I can make the building look like it's right there. I was trying to do a little tree vignette, but it turns out it's better without it.
What you're doing right there, and you can just kind of very slowly kind of walk this way towards me. And you can look at each other. All right, this looks good. This is the Drake spot.
I guess we needed a dog to complete it.
That's really good. If you want to look at each other for one or two. Perfect. And I'm going to make you walk one more time, kind of just over to my left here. And you guys can just look at each other and just pretend you're...
And then back to cocktails. I am doing more of an effort this year to do both candids and then also just like set up some quick group shots of people that look like they're all friends hanging out at a cocktail hour.
And same deal as before, you can just kind of be looking at each other. Amazing. And maybe put an arm around each other while you walk now that dress is bustled.
Boom. No transition. Just first dance. So this is a bit of a challenging setup because if I'm standing with the audience and taking pictures of them, they're just against this kind of weird white wall. So the ideal angle is kind of this way. If I'm pointing kind of towards a DJ over that way, he's going to be in the shots. If I'm pointing the opposite direction, it's just a door. So I really did have to kind of be a little bit more in the way than I usually would be here. And those last shots, I'm bouncing my flash off of that big white curtain to give a little bit more direction to the light. I then tried to frame out the DJ and everything that I didn't want in the shot by going like this, and then headed off to my dinner.
This is my seat at tonight's wedding. I don't know why I had to put the table in the center of the room. This might be the funniest place I've ever sat for a dinner alone. Great. Got bread. This is perfect. All right, let's get into this. I'm not really sure what it is. There's some oil down at the base. When I go into a room like this, the room that's over there, I'm not setting up any off-camera lights, and I'm not using an on-camera light today because the quality of light is actually really good. Even though there are some random hot lights, it's actually pretty good quality overall once it actually gets down kind of to this level. And all of the linens are all kind of brighter, so it is reflecting a little bit of light back up. So I'm very happy just to use the ambient light that's in that room. I think it is a lot better and a lot less obtrusive than setting up lights to essentially achieve potentially the same style of light, but just maybe to shoot it at 1000 ISO less. My couples and I really don't care too much about grain. Like cameras are so good now that you can literally shoot at like 16,000 ISO and it's still a usable image. You just got to make sure you get it right in camera. It's just tomatoes. It's just tomatoes. I was expecting some sort of like caprese surprise inside these tomatoes, but it's just tomatoes on a big tomato. I feel like I'm in Italy now that I'm eating these beautiful tomatoes. Great view. Ocean, Mediterranean Sea out here. All right, it is blue hour right now, which is my favorite time to shoot right now. As you can see, the lights over here, very nice and warm. The rest of the sky, kind of misty, kind of weird, kind of eerie. So I'm going to put the couple directly kind of in the gate with the lights over top. I could set up off-camera lights and soft boxes and really make this a thing, but with those lights, I can walk in, I can do this shot in like 45 seconds, move them over here, do another shot, move them over here, do another shot, and have them back in the reception in like less than 2 minutes. So let's go grab them and do that. So go maybe like 5 steps kind of closer to the tree there. Yeah, somewhere right there is great. And you just like put both arms around each other and pretend you're just hanging out. That looks so good. Maybe give her a kiss in the cheek or this kind of temple or...
And here we have the perfect scene with a big bench in the middle of it. So I'm going to remove the bench and replace it with a panda. Perfect.
And I'm going to move you guys underneath the little gate there. And exactly the same thing, just get really nice and close and cuddle together and...
Ooh, doggy, it's looking like Hollywood out here.
All right, that's great. And then turn around and come back this way. That's great. And you can look at each other like you kind of do. Awesome.
That was the last image I took of the entire wedding day. I took a lot of images there just to make sure that I got the exact right one, which we did. That's all. We're going to get to editing next. I was going to do like a credit roll over this, but I don't really want to do that because that's a lot of extra work just for a joke.
Thanks for coming to the wedding today. Hope you enjoyed it.
Hello and welcome to the editing section of this video. I'm going to go through all the images that you just saw and I'm going to edit all of them. I don't really have an idea of the preset that I'm going to be using for this, so I'm going to just begin with my 2019 color. I guess we kind of start with a bit of a variable here. So basically what I showed in the video was the importance of walking around and actually turning off the lights to I don't know, make things like this little red band go away. So that is with the lights turned on in the other room that I'm currently standing in. And this is with those lights turned off. A lot better of an image, just like the way that the tones kind of come together. It's a little too red, a little too weird, a little too mixed, almost getting attention. This is a lot cleaner of a shot, even though it's sideways. But rotated, I'm pretty happy with that. Or maybe this might be one of those shots that you just can't ever actually get straight because the lines are converging weird. So I would 100% recommend just anytime you walk into a room, regardless of how bad the light is, to turn off the lights and see how it looks and see if it's workable. As long as you're not like upsetting anyone else, like a makeup artist or hairstylist or somebody that actually needs lights kind of happening in the room. This is a macro shot with my 24, which is not a macro really. I'm going to just apply this color preset just to everything. So I'm going to go over here to the very end and I'm going to sync, control, command, shift, S. And I'm going to select all of these as well. I'm going to leave white balance because I've changed white balance on the fly. And also white balance is controlled automatically a lot in these images, which is very rare and strange. So I'm pretty happy with this photo. I don't really, I feel like the details that I deliver are getting a little bit less and less. Like I'm not going to deliver both of, maybe I'll give them like 2 of these photos, but usually what happens is I'll deliver whatever the best one is. I'm not going to give them like 3 variations of the same thing. Also with this Canon Z6, it's very easy to just like get the shot that I need in one frame. So it almost feels like looking through details that it's a little bit light. And I'm just like, oh, cool. Like, I guess I just took 15 shots and all 15 make the cut now, which is not something that I would have been able to do in my previous lifetime as a photographer with the Nikon D850. Although I use my Nikon D850 way more than my Z6 in this. I like the way this kind of came together. These lines over here kind of bugging me a little bit, but they're kind of cool, I guess. And colors stay true to what the shoes were. This is the common ghost photo. This was just for the joke. This is a common ghost. It's a ghost sheet. So again, like the easiness of doing all these photos with the mirrorless camera and just touching what I want to select, very easy. And then also the actual selection of just like automatic white balance. It's doing a pretty good job most of the time. It was a little bit warm in that shot, but really not that bad at all. Let's see how good. So pretty much like as soon as you get the color palette and the white balance that you want in any space, you can just kind of sync that across the room. Here we are back outside in great light. Very happy with the lighting conditions from today. It really was like a kind of a 10 out of 10 day as far as lighting goes. And 10 out of 10 actually kind of across the board. I was very happy with the way that today went. This is just a quick comparison. So this is the shot at 24 millimeters. Maybe that's a little too much. There we go. Gotta let the background go a little bit. If you just hold it all together, it just looks too HDR. It looks like a forged image, or just like it looks too surreal. So I guess like if you want to do that, you could do something like that and kind of bump up the interior here. And as you can see, even go more, and then contrast down. You can double click these to reset them. Like that just starts to look like a really processed image, and I'm not really that much into it. I think this is a revert button. Yeah. So I would just kind of go in and I would let the background go a little bit, and maybe somewhere like about there. So it actually feels a little bit more natural to a photo. This is also a comparison between the shot between like a 24 millimeter lens, which looks fine, and an 85 millimeter lens, which I think looks a lot better. It calls a lot more focus to the elements that you actually want to have in focus. I'm sad that this red thing is here. That's the only thing that kind of is distracting in this image that I think should be fixed. And then I'm also going to go in here and just a little bit of contrast down, shadows up, reset this, and just kind of paint in just a little bit more in the flowers here, just so they're a little more visible, but not doing anything that's going to make it look completely different. I might even go in and brush this out because it is kind of really distracting. This one over here is fine, but just right in the center is kind of, it's a little bit hard. Hopefully they change that. Here's another quick demonstration between bounce flash. This is kind of not, it's not a super useful shot. I've never found that the grooms anything hanging as far as like suits and pants and whatnot go really ever end up making it anywhere. But if you want to do a better photo of it, all I did between these two photos, this is my flash bouncing directly up in the air above my head and coming back down and kind of smacking everything evenly and not making an interesting image at all. And here it is just bouncing off the wall beside me, going directly beside rather than going up. And it makes a heck of a lot better image. Just comparison, I'll kind of exposure match these a little bit. So something like that, kind of crappy image, something like this, a little bit more three-dimensional, and it just kind of feels and looks better, even though overall it's probably not a useful image at all. This, more useful. So preset, nailed it. Patreon members have access to all of these presets, and I wasn't sure if 2019 color was going to be the preset of this venue. I find that all the venues that I shoot have a different preset that I like to use, and it seems to be working pretty well. Sorry, my phone just went off, and I bet everybody just checked their phone if you have an iPhone. I like that photo, I guess. I don't know. It's fine. Documents. So here we are. This is the Nikon Z6, and I'm super happy with the skin tones and everything. It's really, really a fantastic camera, and I'm very happy that I tried it on. Maybe a little bit magenta in this circumstance, but I feel like that's kind of what's happening off to my left-hand side here. So maybe I'll try to chill some of that out a little bit. Somewhere like that. I just used a gradient filter to kind of get rid of some of that. I might add a little bit of, even though I am kind of trying to add a little bit of a natural vignette, I might just kind of bump that a little bit. There, that looks all right. Crop line, a bit weird. Wish that I would have gone up just like a half a centimeter, but I'm at 85, so I couldn't really do that, unfortunately. This was kind of just a test for me that I was just kind of seeing how the Z6 performs in like really dynamic lighting conditions like this. And it does a pretty dang good job. I'm pretty happy with it. Even though her arm starts to kind of blend into a highlight, I'm still happy with the photo. I'm not going to include it. This was just simply for me to see right there. And I just did. All right. Again, like no flash, no anything, just using the natural light that's kind of bouncing around in the room and working with that. This is using the eye autofocus and letting it actually get to a focus point that like if I'm shooting my Nikon D850, my focus points end right about here, I would say, that you can select anything kind of within this box, but you can't get super far over like this. So it's kind of cool that the eye tracking is just like kind of goes all the way over to the edge of the frame, and made it very easy for me. So I'm exposing first for her mom, and then I'm going to bring back a little bit of this so she's not just a complete highlight here. So something like that's pretty good. And I was cropping so tight because there's just a bunch of stuff on the wall here. So I tried to get as close to that as possible so that I was able to not do a lot of Photoshop time afterwards, but happy with that image. All right, so I think this is the shot that I'm going to be using. The downside with wedding photography and detail photography specifically is that you tend to shoot the same things a few times, that you get the safe shot, and then they come in and they add the petals down here closer to the ceremony, and I'm, I guess, like that's the shot. I don't need to deliver the earlier shots. I'm also noticing there's a little bit of kind of purple here. I don't think that did much, if anything. I might try a little something like that. Feels a little bit better, and it kind of hides the purple. I don't know if that's from the lens. It might be from the lens because it's wide open and it's a contrast spot. Usually it doesn't do that unless it's like a really insane contrast point, like a head floating within a head in a dark space floating within like the brightness of an outside window. But maybe it did. All right, this is just a bunch of the candidates that I was taking. Good light for the most part, kind of all around this venue. So it was very easy just to kind of hang out with the 7200 and kind of zoom in on groups of people. Ceremony begins. I kind of even like the edit down here where it kind of was. I might leave it like that. This is a bit of, I guess, like a challenging walk-in because they walk, and if you take the photo when they're out here, they're going to be super bright. So you have to kind of expose for that, and then you lose everything. And then as they walk, the lighting falls off and then starts to get brighter. So I think this was about the best spot in there for, I guess, just general lighting. So I tried to get all the photos there to kind of match. And I'm happy with that. I don't need to bring the background too much back. I'm happy to let that kind of roll off. And I think something like that's good. A little bit harder because it is the light's all coming from behind. So I'm going to add a little bit of a gradient filter here to bring back a little back there. Happy with that. All right. I feel like I'm noticing with this preset specifically is that it kind of pulls out a lot of reds, and then as soon as you expose it properly by pushing it a little bit, it actually kind of balances it out. What I guess you'll notice that I do end up pushing this kind of like pretty much every photo gets pushed almost like 2 stops. And I don't believe that's a full 2 stops. That maybe this one might stay there. When I'm pushing it 2 stops, I'm also bringing a lot of things back, including the tone curve and everything. So it's not really degrading the image as much as it should be when it is doing something kind of that extreme, like pushing 2 stops or 3 stops or whatever I might be doing in some of these photos. So that actually kind of looks good, even though it's like borderline almost to process. So that was the original, and that is the photo now. I'm pretty happy with that. As a wide shot, I think that works really well. If I do close-ups, I'm happy to let the background go even more, but for that specific situation, I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to use the same settings as last. I kind of like that. I'm going to leave it the way it is. I'm going to straighten it though. Again, everything on that like 10% slant. These are just some candidates that I grabbed while everyone was laughing. As you can see, the quality of the Nikon 7200 FL is really, really fantastic. It's definitely one of my favorite lenses, just the way that it kind of renders everything and makes everything, for the most part, just kind of like too easy almost. So I could do something like that, or I almost feel like something like that is a little bit more romantic. Not an edit that I would usually do, so maybe I'll go halfway back to what I should have probably done. I actually had the officiant I talked before, and we talked about like the ring shot and some things that have gone wrong where other photographers have been like trying to creep right over her shoulder, and she was like, "I'll just have them hold it for a little while," and I thought that was very nice. So in the future, I might ask officiants, hey, like, what do you do for rings? Can you just like give me an extra like half second? I would really appreciate it. I think that looks pretty good for a first kiss. Technically their skin tone should be somewhere probably around there, but I want a little bit more of the background, so I'm actually going to balance maybe down here a bit. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm going to copy those settings. This is the previous button that's hiding behind my head here. Cool, happy with that. Red thing, screwing up my game. And here I am. I've gone into the wide angle lens on the Z6, and it pulls out a little more. This might just be the fact that I was just shooting in automatic mode or automatic white balance, but it is pulling out a bit of weird kind of purples, as you can see there. I guess as shot. Let's go back to that. So I'm pretty happy with that. The way that everything kind of lays, I guess, as far as tones and colors go. Shade white balance is pretty wild, I guess, when adjusting. And I selected a bunch of these photos because I didn't know which one was the best one, and I was going to post one of these on my Instagram. So I don't think it's that one, but it could be maybe this one. I feel like this lady is in the process of standing up, so I don't really want to sacrifice her in this image. I will be giving these images to them, just not in this video. That one's okay. I feel like that's the one that I've kind of been waiting for her to be looking, and I feel like this is like when everybody's kind of happy. I really do like if there's one suggestion that you can give to your couples, to have like little petals to throw, really do make a really, really great image. You just have to be very, very quick on your firing, because if a petal is in front of their face, you need to have like the next frame, and the next frame is like a quarter of a second away. So in this circumstance of throwing petals, just like as fast as I shoot when people are walking, feel free to shoot that fast down the entire aisle to get like the perfect shot. Because in that situation specifically, it's 100% worth it. I almost feel like the last one was probably the best one, and I might even try it in black and white. To do a little duplicate here, you just right click and then come up to, I don't know where it is, create virtual copy. Now I have a virtual copy. Let's see. You know what? I like it in color better. So virtual copy can disappear. So these are the family photos. I don't usually do those in black and white. I feel like you just find a good spot with good color. If you're ever really, really stuck and you just can't find a good spot with good light, in which case it might make sense to deliver black and whites, but I am pretty happy to just be delivering color photos for family photos. I feel like those are kind of, I don't know, the general standard of things. I also feel like, as lame as all these like boring photos are, I feel like they're the most important ones, the most important photos of the day over time. On the day it might not seem like it, but I do feel like future life, that those are the ones that are going to be around for years and years and years and years. Also these photos, and also one of them just smiling facing the camera as well. All right. I was really happy with the way this came together. I'm sad that that one BMW rolled up in the background there. But I think that that's something that I did a pretty good job of hiding, I think. You can barely see it. I'll brush it out just of this corner here. But other than that, I feel like we successfully hit it. I might also draw a little bit of just kind of more frame in here. I really did want to get that frame, but there was just like a lot of sticks and not exciting tree foliage when I was kind of back there. So that looks great. Super happy with this this FL lens. This is on from the D850. I guess it doesn't say what up here is happening, but if you're seeing any numbers between 70 and 200 that are not 85, unless sometimes maybe I do 85 on this, but most of the time it's going to be a number that's not 85, maybe 86, 88, whatever. That means that it's from my D850 with that bigger lens on it. This doesn't even look like the same venue. I feel like we've changed venues within that. And then I tried to get a photo of her dad jetting by. And I think I did a good job. It's a bit of a weird crop, but I think it kind of works. Full car almost feels like it's like too like kind of like a high school like short film or something. So I kind of like the way that it's like that tight crop, that it focuses more on him and slightly less on the car, even though there's lots of the car still in it. This was literally them just walking away, and I'm starting to really enjoy the darker edits. So maybe you'll start to see more of that. Specifically when I shoot like cityscapes, I tend to edit on the darker side. This is the Drake area. Yeah. So like 2 years ago, my style would have been somewhere around there, and probably this camera specifically does not like the colors that I usually do. It doesn't react well with this preset, so I might have to redesign the preset if you are a Z6 shooter. This is the Drake spot that we're not sure if he actually was here to take the photo. I should ask one of the girls, but I really love the color. Like, I really love that auto white balance. It does a fantastic job. This was another shot that I nearly almost missed, and I asked them while she was getting bustled if I can just grab a quick one, because I always want, like, 100%, I want to get a shot of the back of the dress, and I missed that today until this moment, so I'm happy that I caught it. During cocktails, just a bunch of these photos. I'm slowly getting better at this. I think I've learned from Tim that you can just walk around and just ask people to take their photo during cocktails, and that people respond really well to that. It's not something that is in my comfort abilities usually, but it was today. Everyone was so happy, and it was just easy to walk up to everyone. I really like these photos. That crop's a bit tight, but I still like it a lot. And then I'm going to hit the previous button just so that the images are kind of exactly the same, since they're in the same lighting situation. This was something I was curious about. So I was using flash for this section, and then I realized that I just kind of like the colors the way that they are. I might also switch up back to my 2018 preset maybe for these interior shots, and then I'm going to bring this down a little bit. I've always been very happy with the 2018 preset indoors, as well as a bunch of other ones, but I found that it works really well. So this is just with flash bounced off the wall kind of behind me, and it's like, it works pretty well. I think technically it's probably like the most correct, but this is the shot without the flash, and I'm going to go into I don't know. I like it a little bit better. Personally, I think I need to find the right color palette for it, though. Maybe it's there. Summer 2018, cool. And I'm going to modify it a bit with a little contrast. So you can achieve great results even if you're not like working off camera flash all the time. It's a bit of a weird frame. I kind of like it, I think, maybe. I don't know. Bit strange. I'll include it just because why not, right? That shouldn't be an actual thing. Like, when in doubt, if you're actually nervous, don't include things, because a few bad frames making people feel a little bit awkward about themselves can really have a huge negative impact on an entire gallery. So this is just with the summer, or the regular 2019 preset. Kind of like that, and I might add a little bit of vibrance, maybe not that much, because that's a little too much with the trees in the background there. Maybe just like a bit of contrast. So yeah, original image, edit, not a whole lot changed, just got a little bit brighter. And then I'll kind of continue that through, with the exception of the weird crop. I wish I had a button to just undo crop. Maybe one day I will. Maybe someday soon. Maybe depending on how I release these videos, maybe I already do. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I really do love just shooting candids kind of around the room whenever there's like, I've had a bunch of grooms that are just like, that should have been stand-up comedians. And I feel like that was today. So it was very easy to just get a bunch of candids of everybody laughing and smiling and having a great time. All right. So for this, 100%, gonna have to change up preset, I think. So this was complete nighttime. Not complete light. It was like dark blue hour. But on the very tail end of it, I went in and I was like, hey, can we do like blue hour photos? And then by the time we got out there, it was already almost nearly gone. I'm going to try Mexico here. A little too green. Sometimes it's like, again, you're just kind of going back and forth and hoping that you find something that appeals to you. I think that this is going to be what I like the most. And again, like, even though it's kind of cranked, the grain level isn't too high. And you can actually, in all the presets, you can roll back the grain if you wish. Or is it right here? So you can just like knock it all away. I like grain. It gives texture, I think, to images. But if you're not into that, that's fine too. I included this for learning purposes because I really did enjoy the photo a lot, but then this bench was just so dumb, and I was like, maybe I can edit it out. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't work because of the bench. It also looks like we're in like the mountains here. This looks like it could have just been like a huge mountain, not just the sky. I think this is one of my favorite images. Those in between moments, I always try my best to kind of capture them. And like, I don't know, cinematically, I think that this is one of maybe the best shots that I've shot here at this venue. So I'm going to make sure it kind of looks the best that it possibly can. So that looks so good. I'm very happy with that. I'm also going to just kind of calm this down a little bit here. I might not be able to, but I'll try. Even like that balances it a little bit better. I feel like this image tells a story and it's very cinematic, and I'm going to go in Photoshop and I'm going to try to remove this little red thing. But I'm super happy with this image, and it really is kind of my favorite from the day, even though it's just like they're on their way. Like I told them like, hey, go under this thing to do a photo, and I snapped the photos along the way, and that was with full intention because that's really what I kind of wanted to do. So I copied everything over, which means that everything came over. So maybe I'll bring this back down. I think that works all right. Although their skin tones are pretty wild here. So let's try auto. You can always go in here, and I'm going to pull it right off his collar because I feel like his head is... That looks really nice. I'm super happy with that. That wasn't the colors that I was expecting it to be. And I might even just copy this color. Think you can do that? Can you do that? There's got to be a way, right? Develop settings. Copy white balance. Whatever. I'll just draw it in. 33 minus 70. 3,300 minus 77. It's a weird white balance. I like this one better, the way that it was. Oh, even that looked really good. What was that? Just when I... That's an interesting scene is what that is. Maybe I'll kind of work with that a little bit. I don't know. I'm going to sit on this one for a minute because I really do like this, the colors a lot, but it is a lot different from everything else. But it really is a scene that is super unique that I have not seen there. This is a little more generic now that I see it. I do like it a lot, but I don't know. That has something else to it. I kind of like it. And then this just crazy colors. There we go. That looks great. I'm super happy with that. That was... No, wait, this was the last image I took at the wedding. Sorry, I can't see what's happening behind my head here. This was the literal last image I took at the wedding. And I'm very happy with it. So thank you for watching. And if you want these presets, they're in Patreon. If you don't have Patreon, you can get it. But wait until the first of the month, or I guess it is kind of a new month. But what happens is that you get billed every month on Patreon on the first of the month. So if you sign up on like the 25th, you're still going to get billed on the first. So do the best you can to put it on your calendar to join in the first like 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 days of the month. So you don't get billed again like instantly, immediately. But yeah, those are my thoughts for editing today, and I'm very happy with everything. Super happy with this wedding. I love the timeline. I love everything about it. I love this new Nikon Z6. I'm going to get more into it over time now that I can see how easily it can be just kind of put in, and how easy it makes my workflow when it comes to specifically detail photos, and now moving forward into more things now that I have more trust over it. But yeah, I might have to retweak the presets a little bit just to make sure that I can accommodate that Nikon Z6 color, because it's a little red, little magenta, a little weird for now. But I'm also shooting auto white balance, so maybe if I'm shooting regular cloud white balance like I should be, that might all go away. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being part of the YouTube experience. I will see you again another time, but I don't know when that time is, so we'll figure that out. When that time is, you'll know. You'll be alerted if you sign up for alerts on YouTube, so you know. That's all. See ya.